So thank you very much for this wonderful talk. And so from what we understand, there is a big risk for the forest in Portugal.
Not only in Portugal, the forest in Europe in general, but in Portugal we made a project that is unique in the European Union. We made a complete countrywide survey of these Phytophthora, oomycete pathogens, in forests, in nurseries and in rivers, and even in the Ria Formosa. And we found a diversity that is unrivaled. We found 42 Phytophthora species. Of these 10 species new, we found a new genus, which is phylogenetically assisted genus of Phytophthora, and will give us lots of clues on the evolution of these pathogens. And we found 10 to 15 new Halophytophthora species in the Ria Formosa. So all of them have the potential to threaten nature a lot.
And so what would people recognize? Is this the plants get sick? Or they have a different color? So how would anyone recognize a Phytophthora on the wild?
It is microfungi, so you will never see the Phytophthora itself, but you see the symptoms, and the symptoms in trees is the dieback of the ground. First the grounds get thinner and they get chlorotic, yellowish, and then they start to die back from the top. You see the top dying and the dead branches sticking out. Sometimes in some tree species also some cankers oozing black or orange fluids on the stem base. That's typical symptoms for Phytophthora. And then the mortality rates can be dramatic, up to 75%.
And does it go very fast?
No, it's usually in most tree species it is a chronic process that can take 10 to 20 years or so, like in cork oak stands. In some tree species it's more dramatic. Alnus trees along rivers can die within 2 or 3 years.
And any economic impact that we can see from this problem?
In horticultural crops, of course, we see the economic impact immediately when a potato field dies or when the tomatoes die. That is immediate damage. But in forests, the damage can also be seen now everywhere in the cork oak stands. The cork oak is dramatically dying, and some areas in the Algarve are basically deforested already. And it is not possible to plant their cork oaks again. They will die immediately. So this is a huge economic damage, and the cork industry will be the first one to see this.
And there is not a lot of awareness in the economic or even in the society at large. Why do you think that happens?
It's very interesting in this project that we had, this project Resipat from the Biodiversity program. There was also a survey done on the public awareness. It was a social survey done by a company that was calling people at home and asking them a questionnaire. And it was done in Portugal and in other European countries. And the interesting fact and outcome was actually that people are more aware of the Phytophthora disease of cork oaks and chestnut than they are aware of the pinewood nematode problem. That was really surprising. It seems that the public is more aware of the Phytophthora disease and damage and risk than the industry itself. It was a very surprising outcome.
And of course the obvious question is how can we try to sort this out?
With the cork oak, the only approach that we can do is a genetic approach. We need to find the genetically resistant cork oaks in Portugal. Of course, we cannot screen millions of cork oaks and test them for their resistance, and that's why we choose another approach. We went to China, to Taiwan in a project, and we tested the Chinese cork oak. We got the seeds here and we tested them in parallel with the cork oak from Portugal, and it turned out that the Chinese cork oak is highly resistant genetically against this Phytophthora cinnamomi, and much more than the cork oak is. So we made a transcriptomic analysis also and showed that in Chinese cork oaks the pathogen is much earlier recognized by the tree, and the defense reactions start much earlier. They start also more powerful than in cork oak. And the next step will be now to design genetic markers to screen the cork oaks here in Portugal to find the few resistant cork oaks in the stands here, which can then be the basis for a resistance screening program. Another approach could be that we actually transfer in a molecular approach the genes, the defense genes from the Chinese cork oak into the cork oak from Portugal and Spain, and make them so resistant by just adding a few genes.
I guess a difficult question is there any optimism when you are in the field? Is there any room for optimism here?
The optimism comes only from our research outcomes. When we go in the field, it's actually really dramatic what we see, especially in the cork oak and in the chestnut stands. The chestnut stands and the cork oak stands are dying everywhere. There is no optimism. But as a scientist, I take my optimism from our research results, and they are really good. They show a lot, and there's also another research group in Lisbon who makes a resistance screening program with chestnuts, Castanea sativa, against Phytophthora, and they also have very good results. So the optimism I take actually from the genetic research.
You are going away from Portugal in what is surely a loss for our country. Although of course you'll continue your science. Do you think that we as a country, I mean Portugal as a country, needs to do more to look into these impacts and try to use research to solve this problem?
Actually, considering that cork oak is so important for the industry here, but also for the culture of Portugal, there is not a lot being done. So much more effort should be put into attracting good scientists, give the young scientists actually a chance to stay in the country and work here as a scientist, which is usually not the case, and try to solve this problem now with the international cooperation with very valuable, high-priced research groups. And we will continue to have our contacts here to Faro, to the university here. We will continue our research, and this will be a good outcome for Portugal too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the interview. Good.